Hi, Curious. This is a very interesting video. Now, I've been thinking I've even made a video on the subject I'm going to talk about now and decided not to upload it. I was mentioning it in Stickum, but it led to a sort of a personal revelation that's a totally separate subject. It's sort of tangential to it. But your video was very interesting on many levels. This is just one aspect of your video, really. But it's also kind of an umbrella or an all-encompassing aspect. By the way, when I watched your video, I was struck by my point of how we ought to base truth on honesty, which really means basing truth on something besides declarative sentences. And just because of how I thought your video was very truthful. So anyway, my experiences, let me just bear with me. I've always thought that of myself as very introspective, kind of a point of pride, able to introspect and see how my own train of thought works from a very young age. And I remember thinking that at a young age and nurturing that ability. And, and I've noted, like you said, you just see things, some of your commenters, I see things and I accept it, I react to it, I interpret it as my imagination, but I know exactly what you're talking about, magical thinking, and sometimes it can be difficult. So I've always put this up to my introspection. I have a good imagination, but it's not like I have a choice. I'm just reacting to things. And I've always thought, well, this is interesting because things reported by schizophrenics, for example, I have those kinds of experiences, and I think I noticed that because of my introspection. I've heard the radio talking to me. Just the other day, I was working with some stones and just fiddling around where I smoked my cigarettes and making some Lego things so I could put the stones on them and stuff. And a bunch of the stones start talking to me, and I'm like, hey, well, answering them. And I just put that up to my imagination, and I figure it's my subconscious, obviously, having processed information. And this is just how the subconscious communicates. So I pay attention, and I go with it. I put a lot of it, if it's very intense, into the artistic realm, And so, I heard voices as a kid, and all of this. So I just think everybody's like this, but most people don't notice, So, but then I realized, I was thinking, just the last couple weeks, that it could be that I just am schizophrenic. And that I'm not, like, awesome at introspection. Well, I would still be, but not because I'm awesome at it, as an accomplishment, but just, I have no choice. My subconscious asserts itself. And it reminded me of when I say that truth comes from honesty, that in people like, oh, well, I suppose a crazy person that thinks they're Lincoln. Sorry to use the mocking voice, Dinah. But, I often think, well, they're the people that need this the most. And that's kind of the situation I feel we're all in, and I realize, well, it could be me. I would have no way to know the difference. And I'm curious, it made me wonder, well, who reports these symptoms and how would you really tell? And is it going to be something that all brains work this way? And what's the other determinant of what makes you unfunctional or not? I certainly know in my case it is this magical thinking aspect. I can think a bunch of quartz crystals are talking to me and I can talk back to them and it's just my imagination. And yet I'm not planning what they're going to say, or it's a surprise. And I'm just communicating with myself, with my subconscious, which does all this amazing information processing. And why wouldn't I mine that for information? How would we know? If somebody had a physical malady and was surviving with it, they have it. But so how would we know? Well, one way is to report these kinds of experiences, which maybe I'll think of a particular one to report. I mentioned some recently. I remember when I was a kid here, like there was a committee of voices watching through my eyes of what I've been commenting. And, I've been thinking of more and more of these lately. Things, especially things not just through history that are like, here, there's evidence that this might be true. No, but things I deal with right now. And basically, I know that life is like a dream. It's like when you're lying there asleep, or in a movie, uses this a lot, and your alarm goes off, say. And it's kind of a metaphor, but it can happen. Alarm goes off, and you think it's the ringing of a school bell in your dream or something, right? That's how it is all the time. When your eyes are open, you're just getting better information. What you're dreaming about is more realistic to what's really going on, but there's still all kinds of voids. So, I guess I'm saying that it's imaginary, the clouds parting, but it's not really. The clouds are moving, and your brain interprets it as parting, and can add special effects that aren't even there if it wants to. And so in a way you could say, oh, well, that's fake, but it's not a non-existence. What it is it's your subconscious. You're communicating with your subconscious. Plus, I believe this other angle of your video, just the spirituality, I believe our subconscious is obviously involved a lot in spirituality. And, you could see why I would accept if someone says, oh, it's just yourself, it's your brain. But see, your body is noticing all this millions of bits of information, and it's reacting to that. So I think we should communicate with our subconscious, and I think we should especially do that when it comes to spirituality. So, there's some truth, because I think that it's information processing out of nature, but it's a strange, non-obvious, more of a poetic kind of truth. And, you could easily have a part of your subconscious. I found it really interesting that you're like thinking, hey, I might get I might conform to this group and convert. And so you're exposing yourself to other ideas to balance it out. And how this was all tied up in your spirituality. I consider that a really, even though you describe almost a dangerous situation, if you told it in a different tone of voice or something, dangerous for you, and you're on the edge, to me it looked like a very healthy spiritual experience. And I totally get the idea that you were there realizing this wasn't for you, and yet it was still a time to do a spiritual experience. And I think it's not just all an illusion. You shouldn't think of it as a negative thing. I think it's an interaction with the world, and that one thing is that even though groups do subsume people, and they can do that by, sort of a spirituality, a seduction towards a certain spirituality, I think there's a stronger spirituality of your individual self that it can be really, I think you had an experience where they came face to face. And in the end, even your inner picture and projection of metaphysical gods, of the magic thinking, was like, you know what, just go do your thing. So anyway, very interesting. I'd like to talk about it more, but I don't know what more to say right now. But so I'll start with that.